Alrighty, so today we're going to do the season preview of Inter Miami, and let's be honest, I know a lot of Miami fans and even some casual fans are only paying attention to Inter Miami mainly because is this team going to get Lionel Messi? Because, the Messi watch is definitely a big thing in this offseason, and even though I know there's been numerous reports saying that it seems like he is staying with PSG, there's also some other reports saying that he may still have a chance to come to Inter Miami, and that include Tom Bogert even said, I think today that there could still be a chance where his deal to extend his contract with PSG is not done whatsoever, and that once his contract does end in the summer, there could be a chance that he is going to be joining Inter Miami on a free transfer and will take up a wage bill that is probably right up there in terms of what we saw David Beckham when he came into the league in 2007 when he was getting paid $25 million a year to play in MLS, and maybe even higher too, because obviously the contract that Messi is currently with PSG is definitely really high, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be higher if he does decide to come to Miami and plays for Inter Miami. Now, despite the fact that I know, as I said, that is definitely something that a lot of Miami fans, and certainly casual fans, are looking to see if it happens. Even if Messi doesn't come to Inter Miami, I don't think Miami fans are going to be that disappointed. I mean, maybe will be disappointed that they don't get to see one of the greatest of all time play in person. But in general, when you look at this team, even without Messi, I think this team could still be a good team and can definitely be a team that can get back into the playoffs. I mean, we saw it last season where you can definitely see that there is starting to be a core that is forming this team. And in fact, I think they're really ahead of schedule in terms of the rebuild, and just last season they completely start from scratch again, almost looked like another expansion team, and yeah, they really kind of overachieve in a way where they were able to make it to the playoffs, and knowing the fact that some of those pieces are back, and they're also added a couple of pieces, certainly a guy that have played with Atlanta United for a long time and has already known to be one of the best goal scorers of all time in MLS, decided to come down south to play for Inter Miami, and you have a recipe that Phil Neville team can definitely have a chance to make it back to the playoffs. Now, speaking of the playoffs, last season they did make it to the playoffs for the first time ever with a 14-6-14 record and finished with 48 points. And you notice I said that they made it to the playoffs for the first time ever, and that, again, I think I said this back in the Moving Forward series about Inter Miami they did make it to the playoffs in their first expansion season. Yes, they did kind of make it as a 10th seed because that was the COVID-shortened year where the Eastern Conference playoffs spot were expanded, and that Inter Miami was in that play-in tournament and was able to be the last team to be part of that play-in tournament. But let's be honest, I think we can all agree that Inter Miami didn't deserve that spot, and that, again, that play-in tournament was really kind of filled with teams, especially near the bottom, that are just kind of mediocre at best, and that, I even mentioned during that COVID-shortened season, if you're in the Eastern Conference, you really have to suck if you're not able to make it to the playoffs this season. And, despite the fact that Inter Miami did suck in their expansion season, and we talk about how chaotic it was under Diego Alonso, with him just changing the formation every single day and playing as many players as possible, they somehow snuck into it, but they found out in a big way in the playoffs in that expansion derby against Nashville SC, where there was no match on them. And I know they also were struck by the COVID bug, and that it was a lot of players, and pretty much half of the roster was not available during that game. But let's be honest, even without the COVID bug, I didn't think they would have had a shot against Nashville on the road. Which, speaking of which, as we take a look at the last three seasons, they made the playoffs for the first time with 48 points, but they did lose to NYCFC in the first round. In the previous year, they did not make it to the playoffs. They finished 11th place with a 12-5-17 record and finished with 41 points. And as I said, they did not make it to the playoffs. And in 2020, I've just kind of talked about the season that they had, and yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the most chaotic and wild expansion season that we seen, where Inter Miami was thinking about really splashing those big names, and that, there were some big names that were in this team, most notably Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi and even Rodolfo Pizarro that they got from Liga MX. But yeah, and also not to mention getting Diego Alonso, a coach that just won the CONCACAF Champions League with Rayados, and that it was like things were gonna go well, and yeah, it did not go well whatsoever for this team. Now, in terms of some of the players that they signed this offseason, they of course signed a well-known striker known as Nicholas Stefanelli, and then Jake LaCava, who also came from St. Louis City 2 team, not the St. Louis City team that of course is now in the league. But going back to Nicholas Stefanelli, you know, he's used more, most likely going to be as a depth piece, because the main price this offseason that they got is no doubt Joseph Martinez from Atlanta United, and that is definitely going to go down as probably one of the biggest steals we've ever seen in league history, where not only the fact that Inter Miami didn't have to pay any general allocation money and didn't have to give up a lot to get Joseph Martinez, but they literally signed him on a free transfer. Now, they did have to eat up a lot of the cap space, or actually, I think they also made him a designated player, so technically they didn't eat up a lot of the cap space. But yeah, this was the big signing, and this was one of the biggest question in the offseason of where exactly Joseph Martinez is going to go. Is he going to stay with Atlanta United, despite the fact that there's been multiple times that he have said that he doesn't want to be part of the club because of the clash between him and Pineda and the front office, and that, you know, it seems like there was a lot of team that was interested in the Joseph Martinez sweepstake. And in the end, it was Inter Miami, the one that wants the sweepstake to get Joseph Martinez. And then at the back, they definitely signed a couple of defenders to hopefully improve the back line. They signed Sergei Christoph from Shakhtar Donetsk, and then they also got Franco Negrini, who I think he came from the Argentine league, if I'm not mistaken. And he, of course, is a left back, and definitely will be a huge upgrade to when you look at the current left back that they have, which I think it's Kieran Gibbs that is the main left back right now for this team. And yeah, I mean, I think you can safely say that anything besides Kieran Gibbs, and this is no disrespect to Kieran Gibbs, but he's not a regular starter, and that you know, I think before that, wasn't it McVay the one that was the left back for this Inter Miami team? I mean, yeah, it was kind of dire situation in terms of the left back position. That was one of the big weakness and one of the big Achilles heel that this team has had. And now getting a guy like Franco Negri, who you still don't know if he's going to be decent, but they're banking the fact that it's going to be it's going to work out better than the current left back situation that they had. And in the Super Draft, they also snatch up Cole Jensen in the Super Draft. And then in terms of player that is out, I'm sorry, remember how I said Kieran Gibbs was the option, or actually no, never mind. I know what I just said there. Let's talk about some of the players that is out of this team and no longer with this team. Damian Lowe, of course, no longer with this team. He went to the Philadelphia Union. Same goes with Emerson Rodriguez. Well, actually, for Emerson Rodriguez, he's technically still with Inter Miami in terms of on the roster, but he has been loaned out to Liga MX and loaned out to Santos Laguna. And then there also is the big question this offseason with this team surrounding the future of Alejandro Pozuelo, because, you know, I think last season it's safe to say that, you know, not only the fact that Inter Miami got an absolute bargain to get Alejandro Pozuelo from TFC, but he definitely contributed a lot during the limited time that he had down the stretch, and I was kind of interested to see whether Inter Miami was going to bring him back. Turns out that, of course, was not the case. In fact, that he actually has been reported to finalize a deal to join a Turkish club. So, yeah, for Inter Miami, it's a shame that they're not going to get one of their playmaker and their number 10 back for this season. And then, of course, one of the biggest name of this team when it was signing, Gonzalo Higuain, not coming back because he decided to announce his retirement. Same goes with Blaise Matuidi, but we kind of knew from last season. And then you also got some depth pieces. We got Jovan Jones and the legend of Breck Shea, who, yeah, it's sad to see that the legend of Breck Shea is no longer with an MLS team. I mean, I'm really just hoping eventually an MLS team is going to pick up Breck Shea, because let's be honest, Breck Shea is probably one of the greatest meme player in MLS history, and I'm just hoping eventually somebody will give him at least a shot. Even if the fact that we know he's not as good as he used to, but just for the meme itself, I really think in the year of 2023, I want to see an MLS team still somehow find a way to trek out Breck Shea in the starting 11 of the game, or even coming off the bench too. Then you got George Acosta no longer with his team, and then Indiana Vasilev, who of course joined with St. Louis City, the expansion team for this upcoming season. Definitely one of the biggest signing that St. Louis, of course, got this off season too. Now, in terms of the strength of this team, I want to say it's the attack, but I do have question in terms of that left wing position, especially the fact that I know Ariel Lassiter last year. I think he definitely had one of his best season during his short time in MLS, because I know during his time with the Houston Dynamo, he definitely did not make any impact for the team. But I thought last year Lassiter definitely done well for this team, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that will be used if they want to get to the next level to have a decent attack. I mean, obviously they have Joseph Martinez and Leo Campana in that number 9 position, which I'll definitely get to talk about that situation and how Phil Neville is going to balance that. But besides that, there's definitely some question in terms of the attack of this team, but that's not so in terms of the midfield. I mean, I think this midfield is rock solid. I talk about Alejandro Pozuelo no longer being there. Well, it's time for Bryce Duke to step up in terms of being that playmaker role. Because let's say if Lionel Messi is not coming to this team, I think Bryce Duke might be the creative player for this team. And I think I said this last season, I really love this kid. I love the way that he plays, and that you definitely saw some of that potential during his short time with LAFC. And again, I think it was the best choice of his career. Decided to move to another MLS team because you knew that he was not going to get playing time with LAFC, but him coming to Inter Miami and giving a chance to show what he can do and the quality that he has. Yeah, I think he is definitely a guy that could be a player that we could talk about, and a player that I think could be flying under the radar to be a very decent American number 10, or even a playmaker in this league. But besides that, Gregory in that holding midfield role, one of the more underrated holding midfield in the league, and even with John Mota, who I thought he had a decent season last year despite also flying under the radar. And I think overall, in terms of what I talk about the strength of this midfield, is the fact that I feel it's very underrated. I feel it's flying under the radar, that people don't give credit how good this Inter Miami midfield has been, and that I think that's going to be one of the strengths that this team will have. Now, what is the weakness of this team? It's got to be the back line. So, again, as much as I know they kind of reshaped the back line a little bit, there is still question in terms of that, especially, there's question looking at this defense that last season they did give up goals at wills at time, and that the only reason why that they kind of stopped leaking goals is because their goalkeeper, Drake Callender, really stepped up to the plate and decided to become a top-level goalkeeper in MLS. But we'll see whether or not if this back line, who, as I said they kind of have changed a little bit after they decided to bring in a center back, and also decided to bring in a left back that they desperately needed for the past couple of seasons, and we'll see whether that can fix things up. Now, in terms of the three big question for this team, again, is Messi coming to Inter Miami? The answer to that question is a big maybe. Again, we'll never know until at least in the summer whether or not, if there is going to be news that Messi is going to be coming to MLS and coming to Inter Miami. I mean, again, there's been just so many reports in regards to this. It's hard to believe which report is actually true, and it's just, I feel like at the end of the day, we just gotta have to wait until the middle of the season when we're gonna find out when exactly is Lionel Messi going to go. Is he gonna stay with PSG, or is he indeed going to come to MLS? And that we might have just got probably the most well-known player to come to MLS, maybe not since David Beckham. I mean, I know there's been some big name that has come to MLS. I think probably the biggest name close to the status that David Beckham came to MLS was Zlatan Ibrahimovic a couple of years ago. But we're talking about Lionel Messi here. I mean, a guy that, even if you don't know anything about soccer, when you hear the name Messi, you probably know who he is, and that, yeah, he alongside Ronaldo is definitely going to be be considered to be the most recognizable name in this sports, or in this sports, and just in general in the sports world too. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see as we head into the summer transfer window, that whether or not if Inter Miami can win this Messi sweepstake. But the other big question with this team, again, going back to the number 9 situation, again, with the way that after they decided to get Joseph Martinez and also decided to sign Leo Campana on a permanent deal, this is when Phil Neville's got a really a good problem to have, which is, do he decided to go with a 2-striker system, or does he decided to just go with one of them and then maybe bring another one off the bench? I mean, for me, I feel like they're gonna go with a 2-striker system, mainly because they also signed Nicholas Stefanelli, and I don't think he's gonna be just a guy that is just there to be rotting on the bench. I think he's probably a guy that maybe could come in during late game situation and coming off the bench, whether for Campana or Joseph Martinez. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if Phil Neville would go with a 2-striker system. And you also know that I think in terms of just the way that both of these players are, I think you kind of had to go with a 2-striker system, because both of these players doesn't want to be back up of their compatriot number 9. I mean, I'm pretty sure Joseph Martinez didn't come to Inter Miami to sit on the bench to play behind Leo Campana. And the same goes with Leo Campana. He probably maybe is a little frustrated the fact that, he kind of lost his starting spot a little bit when Gonzalo Higuain was starting to heat up again near the end of the season. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a 2-striker system, but we'll see if that, of course, is the case that Phil Neville is going to go. And then lastly, in terms of the big question is, how will this sort of restructure backline would look? Again, we'll see whether if it is going to be much better. I mean, for the first couple of season that I've seen Inter Miami play, they've not been a very good defensive team, and that we'll see whether or not if this restructure backline will make this team a little bit better in the defensive end. But also, I think the bonus question I would say about Inter Miami is the fact that can Drake Callender be like the player that he was last season, especially in the latter part of the last season, being a top 5 goalkeeper in the league. I mean, that I think maybe is a little bit ambitious, because there's definitely some great goalkeeper in this league, but I think Drake Callender, he's definitely proven last season that, hey, this is a guy that is kind of flying under the radar to be a top level goalkeeper, and a guy that can definitely save Inter Miami a couple of games, or even steal some games for Inter Miami in case that the backline is not playing well. But overall, there's definitely some big future for this team, and like I said, I think Chris Henderson has done a great job in terms of building this team, and you're starting to see why he decided or why Inter Miami decided to get him from the Seattle Sounders. Historically he has been able to build some great Sounders team, and that could be the same case for Inter Miami, even if they potentially is not going to get the ultimate price that they hope that they're going to get in the summer transfer window, and that of course is getting Lionel Messi. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this season preview, and if you're an Inter Miami fan, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, and free big question that this team does face for this upcoming season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.